Okay. Now, most people know you as the quirky and fabulously fun Lily on Hannah Montana. That show has been a huge part of your life. What are your thoughts on the show's end and moving on?
I think it's wonderful. I'm very excited for everybody who was involved, and we definitely had an amazing opportunity and such a good time working on the show. And I'm more so excited to see what everybody does next, than worrying about the fact that the show is over. Because to me, I know that it'll be playing for a long time, and I'll still always love it, but I'm very excited to be moving on to different things, and as soon as the show wrapped, I went on tour. I was finally able to have some time to really dive into the music wholeheartedly, and that's what really excites me.
Well, how has the transition from television to music been for you?
I feel like it wasn't really a transition. It was more like finally having time to give it everything that I could, and I've been working on music, since the start of Hannah Montana, but I didn't really have as much time as I wanted to really get into it, because obviously I was working on the show, and I was busy every day, and it's hard to do school and the show and then try and have a music career all at the same time. So now that the show's over, it's easier for me to go out on tour for a few months and be in the studio for very long hours of the day and not worry I have to get up early the next day for work or something like that. So it's much more fun, and it's much more creative.
Yeah, and a lot of people, didn't know that you have been making music for basically as long as you've been acting.
Right.
Fight or Flight is your new album that's due out on Tuesday, October 5th. And from listening to a few of your tracks, you're not seemingly going the bubblegum pop route as many of your Disney counterparts have. How would you describe the sound of your music?
Well, it's much more electronic. It's much more dancey. There are some pop aspects to it, but it's got a nice balance of pop sound and then a little bit more acoustic and some slow tracks, and it has a few rock songs. The Cycle is probably the only song with like more than 2 guitars on it, and I love that. And all of these songs mean so much to me, and I was just I'm here in New York, and I went to my studio, and I went my label studio, and I went in the room that I wrote like 3 of the songs for the record for, and it was so cool to walk in there and be like, I remember being in here and just having the best time of my life writing these songs, and I can tell you exactly what we did that day and what I had for lunch, and it's sort of like a time capsule, and every song is so unique to my life, and I love that it's finally out there for everybody to listen.
Yeah, and you worked on your music with some heavy hitters, including Toby Gad, Nellie Hooper, and David Gamson, just to name a few. Now, that had to have been, a blessing, yet kind of intimidating at the same time.
A little bit, yeah, in a way. I mean, I don't really care that much about, what they did before, and it really, sure, I mean, it's impressive, and it's so great to know that, the people that I'm working with have so much experience, but at the same time, it's a brand new experience for me, so I'm not going to bring up all the other people that they've worked with or something like that. I'm just gonna feel lucky that I get to work with them too, and I get to be thrown into that roster as well. And especially with Nellie Hooper. Nellie Hooper's worked with some of my favorite people, and he calls me all the time. He's like, "Hey, P Diddy really liked your track." I'm like, "You're lying." He's like, "No, I'm friends with him, or I'm friends with this guy, or friends with that guy." And it's like he knows so many people, and it's just so weird because. Being in the studio, I think I'm probably the only young girl that he's ever worked with, and it was new for him as much as it was new for me. So it was a really unique experience.
And you guys kind of had, he is based out of London, so you guys kind of had an interesting way of working, via Skype. How was that? Was that that was very difficult, especially with the hours, because we all went to bed at different times, and he stayed up late, and there was. I think it's like a 8 or 9 hour sprint. So it was always kind of difficult, but somehow we made it work, and then I flew out to London, and then he came out to LA. So we made it work. It was difficult because I was on tour when I was trying to make a record. It was, and that never happens. You're never on tour when you're trying to make your debut record. I don't know how that happened. Now, you have a wide variety of tracks on your album, including All the Boys Want, Let's Be Friends, and 1-800 Clap Your Hands. What kind of inspired you during the writing process?
It's kind of funny how it all came out, because I've been thinking about these songs, and they were halfway there every time I went into a session, and then, working with someone, co-writes are amazing, and it's I'm not at that point yet where I want to write on my own, because I love working with other people, and it's so great to have that other perspective. So I had just the time of my life writing this, and the writing is really I love songwriting sessions, and it's really almost my favorite part of the process with making a record.
Mm-hmm. Now, who inspires you musically?
Well, I mean, I guess you could just say the bands that I listen to on a daily basis. I mean, my favorite bands are probably the ones that inspire me to make music. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to make music like them, but you know, I love bands like Incubus and Beck, and I listen to Broken Bells and Animal Collective and even Audio Slave, and listen to a lot of different types of music. I love Gaysayer and bands like Wu-Tang. Like, I listen to a lot of different stuff, and I think that kind of helps, because it allows me to have a better feel for, you know, all these different types of music, and how to put them all together and make music in my own way.
Awesome. Now, I've got a few fan questions for you here, Miss Emily. Have you gotten any advice from Miley on your music?
No, actually I haven't. I kind of, you know, that was the one thing I didn't really want anybody else involved with. And, you know, Miley and I are strictly friends, and I think that definitely helps in a relationship. You never want to talk about work with someone, you know, who you just want to be friends with, because it can get complicated, and, you know, we're the same age, so it would be weird for me to do that, because, you know, we're definitely on the same page.
This is kind of a fun one here. If you could be stranded on an island with any celebrity, who would it be and why?
Any celebrity?
Yes.
Well, I just met Boz Luhrmann the other day. That was amazing. I kind of would like to be stranded on the island with him, so I could convince him to direct a music video or something. In some production.
No, you mentioned being on tour and things like that. Do you have anything in the works anytime soon?
I do. I'm going to Brazil at the end of October. So I'm really excited for that. I'm going back to Europe for 2 weeks to perform. And then after that, I'm not sure. Everything, it's kind of iffy right now. We're trying to decide where to go and who to see, and you know, I really want to go to different countries. I've never done like a States tour. I would love to do that. So a lot of different things. I'd love to open for an amazing band. I'd love to play with like Mike Snow or Phoenix or something like that.
That's so awesome, and I'm sure your fans will be very excited.